are live. Hey everybody, trying to get some things set up here. Greetings. Looks like we have somebody showing up here. This is Mike Martin. We're broadcasting live from the Casio office here. Trying to get a few things going to share for the community here. And I've got an XW-P1 here with me. And in a minute I'm going to dive into a few different things. I just want to get a few people over on our channel. And apologize, I have to reach forward here and copy a URL so I can share it. Computer's too far away. So in a minute I will have be doing some demos here on the XW-P1. And there we go, there's the URL I needed. So please join in on the chat if you see it. Ask me some questions. We are live. All right, so back to the beginning. Close this window, pull up the chat window. Looks like we've got somebody here. If you're here, use the chat. So I have the XW-P1 here, and using the iPad app over here, I'm going to maybe show you a few things you haven't seen before on the P1. And looks like I've got a few people here coming in. Welcome to the live stream. And again, my name is Mike Martin. And trying a few things tonight we haven't done before. We did a trial of a YouTube stream a couple weeks ago to see how quickly and easily we can do this, and hopefully if this quick trial goes well, this is something we're going to do on a more regular basis. And I thought for the fun of it I'd try something else tonight using the XW-P1. And I actually have the iPad up, and you guys can see what's going on the iPad screen, which is a really cool way to see what's going on inside this keyboard. I'm using the free MIDI Designer app for the XW-P1. And if you just joined us, please feel free to use the chat window here. So the XW-P1, one of its most amazing attributes is the solo synthesizer, and I just love it. I still use it all the time, and what I'm finding is the more time I spend with it, the more I've learned to get even better sounds out of it than I ever imagined before. And in tonight's broadcast, I wanted to see if I couldn't maybe share a few of those tips. Oh, look, we got somebody in the chat window. Good to see Casio still supporting. Absolutely. Ah, you had to sell your P1. I'm sorry to hear that. Well, you need to get one back. We are definitely still supporting the XW-P1 in our videos and tutorials. And as I was going to show you tonight, it's such a great instrument. So a couple of things I wanted to show you, and it's been actually a little while myself since I've used a few of these things on the iPad app, but it is a great visual representation of the instrument. So I'll do my best to show you that way, and of course I've got the display camera here, and I can show you a few things that are going on that way too. But again, the solo synth here and making it sound like a traditional analog mono synth. There's a few tricks you can use, and I wanted to share some of that with you today. So I guess the first thing I'm going to talk about is by default, if you choose a blank preset on the P1, it is a touch sensitive sound. It's responding to touch amplitude touch. And a traditional monophonic lead synth would not have that at all. So there's some things we can do to get in and dive in on our oscillators here and turn some things off, actually. And one thing I've already turned off was the reverb. By default, there was a little bit of reverb, so I've turned that off already. And on the right-hand side of the screen, we've got all the detail of the solo synth page here, and what I'm looking for in particular here is the touch sensitivity value, and I want to set that to 0. And it might be difficult to dial that in exactly. That's close enough. Okay, and I'm actually going to go ahead and do that for all of my oscillators on here. Even though we're only here in the first one, let's set that to 0. Let's go to the third one, set it to 0. The iPad doesn't know what the settings are on the P1 by default, so I'm just going to move the knob and set it back to 0 for all of these little parameters here. And noise, I'm even going to set that one to 0. And now I'm going to go back to the main page here and make sure that my filter touch sensitivity is set to 0. So now we should have a not touch sensitive mono synth, and right now we're just listening to the first oscillator. Okay, so apologize, my phone's ringing, but I'll have to call them back. So here's a few things I've learned out. So the trick to really voicing this synth is small increments of everything. Later we'll dial in some touch sensitivity to the filter, but we're going to use small increments to adjust it. So I'm going to start with sort of a muted sawtooth sound. In fact, let's go ahead and add a second sawtooth here. We'll go to our wave display here, and I'm going to add a second sawtooth to this. We can detune it. So already we're getting a really gigantic sound just by stacking 2 oscillators, detuning one of them. I can go to a third oscillator, turn its volume up. What's real typical, like that, if you want a sub oscillator, drop the third one down, put it down an octave. I don't know if I'm hearing the right sound. I'm hearing a piano. So my waveform selection is not working right. Let's take a look here. Yep, I don't want the piano. I want... Oh, that's why. I remember now. We have to go all the way up the list. But since I already have this open here, let's go ahead and go to 1700 or so. And that's where we'll find the rest of the synth waveforms. So many waveforms to choose from. Unbelievable. Alright, there we go. So we're going to choose the triangle. There we go. So that's our sub-octave. So real quick and easy, we've got something that is really, really thick and meaty. So again, using the filter, we're going to start making this sound speak a little bit. The trick is going to be small increments. So let's go back to the main page here. And what I'm going to do is dial in a little bit of a filter envelope. So, first thing we want to do is turn up the envelope depth a little bit, and then we're going to start shaping it using the parameters here. So, attack time, attack level, turn that up, decay, sustain. I don't want the filter to sustain, I want it to drop back down. So, there we go. So, there's our attack time on that filter. And our decay, we can make that a little bit longer. Add a little resonance. Lower the overall filter and turn up the envelope depth just a little bit. So what you find is that it's a balance between the overall filter setting and the amount of envelope depth. And again, in general, small increments are better. So let's try. Now we're getting there. So now we could add a little bit of release. Oops, not release level, release time. So again, starting to sound really authentic and really nice. And part of that trick was just to turn off the touch sensitivity and then start to dial in an envelope on the filter. And again, now we can adjust it to taste using the knobs. Release is a little too long for me. Bring that back down. Oops. I apologize for that. We're seeing text messages pop up on the Ustream. That's lovely. Now you can see that on the Ustream, my wife is texting that our dishwasher is broken. Great. Announcing it to the world here on YouTube. So that was just a real simple analog bass sound, and again, the trick that we did was turning off that touch sensitivity. Now, if you want it to respond a little bit, maybe that filter to touch. Again, less is more. So let's turn off the amp envelope or the filter envelope, so it's just a static sound for a moment, and turn up the touch sensitivity on the filter. My headphones are making a noise here. Turn up touch sensitivity a little bit more. So now we've added a little bit of life with the filter from velocity, but you know, original Mini wouldn't have been able to do that. So again, a couple different ways for you to work, and check it out. Yeah, Brad, the dishwasher. Anyway. So again, I started, for those of you that have just joined in, just me here at Casio. We're using some new software to see if we can improve live streaming here. We've been using doing live events on Ustream in the past, and we're now I think I'm going to try some other tools that allow us to broadcast live directly to YouTube, and we should still be able to use it on Ustream as well, but I think we might be able to attract a little bit wider audience here on and ease of use here on YouTube. So let me know how it sounds, how it looks, because I can't tell from this end. I can't see and hear what you're seeing, so let me know. Well, that's great to hear, Brad, that this is working better than Ustream. That's really, really good. Ustream, what was amazing about Ustream was the ability for us to do different cameras. And I guess I'll throw the pitch out here. We found a really cool open source program that basically is allowing us to do the same thing and do different camera views and share screens and all of that. And it just seems to work. So that's the great news. And again, this is just my second trial at setting this up and trying to see if it works. And so far so good. So this is not by any means a formal event at all. Just trying out a few things. So I had spent some time this past weekend with the XW, and I thought, let's bring it out tonight on this web stream. And I apologize, my either have a bad cable or my headphones are going on. I don't want to hear the XW in the right side. Hold on one second while I exit the camera view. There we go. So it wasn't me, it was you, it was everybody. Everybody was getting that. So again, I was just sort of sharing some techniques. I actually had the P1 next to a Minimoog Voyager, and I was really surprised. I mean, that's a multi-$1,000 instrument, and of course a real analog instrument. And I started sort of taking apart some of those sounds and recreating some of those elements here on the P1, and it's quite amazing how good this instrument is as certainly a very affordable and flexible instrument. It can do some things that, of course, a Mini can't. So I guess what I'm going to do here is sort of just back out. I'm going to just choose a blank new sound and sort of start over and again show you a few things that again, if I'm starting to make a patch in the solo synth on the P1 or the G1, the first thing I'm going to do is kill the reverb. Nice to have in some circumstances, but usually not on a lead or a bass. And at that point, I'm going to go in and start choosing waveforms, which of course we can do from the screen, or if you got the iPad app. Sine wave is the default, and there's so many different choices in here of different waveforms. And the difference, the reason you see different ones with the B on it, that means they're specifically for bass, optimized for bass. So if I'm building a lead sound, I'd use the one without the L, or we'll use the one with the L. There we go. So let's build a little lead sound here. So I guess I'm going to be traditional and do sawtooths again. And traditional again, usually that third waveform, it can be another saw, it can be a pulse, it can be anything you want. But if we're talking tradition, it's probably going to be a triangle waveform or a square. Let's do a square. Here we go. So if we turn all three of those on, we have one sawtooth, second sawtooth, square. And of course, things start getting really fun when we start detuning those. Of course, you could do intervals. I go to my waveform display. For some reason, that wasn't giving me a full, like a set. Looks like we might need to update the iPad app. Things aren't working exactly as I recall. So now we got around a fifth here. There we go. And then this triangle one will take it down an octave. So again, as I started before, kind of the real trick to making this sound or behave like a traditional analog synth is to turn off a lot of things that are on by default. So take that touch sensitivity, set it to 0. Touch sensitivity for each of our oscillators as well. I'll show you on the screen how to get there for those of you who don't have iPads. Just go to your amp section, touch sensitivity, set it to 0. And do that for each of the oscillators. 0, 0, 0, 0. And now it's starting to behave again like a traditional analog synth. And you can dial in, if you want, the envelope depth on the filter. So maybe you want to sound with a nice little drop of the filter. Let's turn envelope depth. So we have that nice percussive element, so a high attack level dropping down to a low sustain level. Add some resonance. If you add a little attack time on the front, there you go. So flexible to play with. And of course, you could choose how low that filter drops. Turn down the resonance a little bit. Or how long it takes to drop down with the decay level. And I'm getting some funny things here. So what has changed here? Sawtooth? Yep. My waveform changed. There might be some bugs in the MIDI Designer app with their updates, so we're going to have to take a look at that and talk to the guys at MIDI Designer. There we go. That's a little bit more what I was going for. Now the one thing I might add, of course, I turned the reverb off. Portamento. And portamento time. One cool thing about the P1 is that you actually have portamento time per layer, per oscillator. So I could actually have it at different speeds for each of these. One long, one medium, one short. Just just another one of the tricks that the XW-P1 has up its sleeve for creating some unique sounds. So another thing I might want to do here, and again, completely up to you, is adding some delay or some other kinds of effects. So tempo. So I'd probably want the feedback way down. And the wet-dry mix, probably not so high. Wet level, just a little bit of a slapback. Some other things you can get into on the XW-P1 as far as mapping things to control sources. So I could take something like my mod wheel here and assign that to control my filter. And you can control how much. And again, what I have found is that less is more in general. So let's close the filter. And now to really hear that, we probably need to turn down our envelope depth. It's always going to be a balance. Now we also have a little vibrato happening there, so let's go and find our LFOs and take the vibrato off the mod wheel. Set it to 0. And I find that the mod wheel is just a really musical way to control the filter. And we could put a little bit of that vibrato in there, but I might put a delay on it. Well, so in fact, here's what I'm going to do. Not on the mod wheel, but just a little bit that comes in after a period of time. There it is. So we can have it ramp up or rise up to that level. And you can control the speed of it, of course. And the cool thing is that LFO resets each time you release the key. So much power inside this instrument. Well, we got a few people online tonight. That's very cool. I'm only going to do this for about 5 to 10 more minutes. Do have to go, and I don't want to get locked in the building tonight because this was an unplanned event. But really, that's just wanted to try and see how the live stream is working, make sure our cameras are working, make sure the audio is working. Just curious if you guys in the chat window could let me know if panning is working. So this sound should now be panning back and forth between the left and right speaker. Can you guys confirm that for me in the chat window? I'd really appreciate it. That way we know we've got stereo happening. I realize there's a little bit of a delay. It's panning. All right. So just in the last couple minutes I've got, any questions I can answer for you guys? I'm glad you're participating in the chat window. If there's anything I can show you in particular, I'd be happy to. One of my favorite demos. Minimum needed for the iPad. When we developed this layout, this is part of the MIDI Designer app. This is on an iPad 2, which are very affordable these days. So original iPad 2, but we'd have to check in with MIDI Designer to see if the iPad 1 is still supported. It probably is not, but that's a pretty deep app that we've created here. There's over, or just under 600 parameters on all the different screens to control the XW, and just the XW solo synth. So, yeah, the Blade Runner sound never gets old, and I guess we can dive into this particular sound a little bit, and I can show you real quick how I made this, and then I'll probably have to sign off for tonight. So, but maybe we'll reconvene tomorrow night. So there's obviously a couple different. Now this patch is available to download. You can go to CasioMusicForums.com and download this patch, which is just one part of what's happening here. And let's just take a look. So I've got two layers, both with one with a sawtooth and one with a one with an old SH sound. So a couple tricks to this sound in particular. One is just if you listen to the sound. Double check something. There we go. I knew something was wrong. So it should just be two basic sawtooths. 1, 2. Yep, two sawtooths stacked. And one of the tricks is there's just a nice little steady vibrato in one of those parts. Just sounds. If we were to exaggerate it real quick, you'd hear it even more. So we have, two sawtooths, slightly detuned, and just. So we also have a delay, and the other trick to this sound is the is the way I have the modulation wheel configured to control the filter. So if we were to go into virtual control, you'll see that modulation is a source to control my filter, and by default it's got a really slow envelope on it. But as I phrase it, I can open up the filter with the mod wheel as I play it. So actually a really very simple sawtooth sound. The other big thing that's happening is how I've grouped this in a performance. If we were to take a look at it, so there's my solo synth on zone 1. Zone 2, I've got the stock 70s string sound, and then a layer with a second 70s string sound. So I edited that first one. Let's take a look at what I did to it real quick. Go to strings, user. I believe I just changed the envelope. Yep, I changed the attack and release, and that's about it. So just to give me two string sounds layered in that performance. I might have detuned them. Let's go into zone parameters and look at zone 2 and 3. 2 and 3, no, I didn't even detune them. But that gives me this string machine sound here in the middle. And then the real trick to this sound in the end is I've got a fourth part which is triggering a phrase. So what I did is I recorded a phrase, just one long note. And it's also playing those sounds on zones 2, 3, and another one on zone 4. And it just plays that long note. So the cool thing is that's sustaining with the phrase recorder. See, it's playing back that phrase nice and slow. And then my hands are free to play the strings in the middle and sustain them with the pedal. So you get the drone going, but then the strings that I can sustain and then play the lead with the mod wheel up across the top. So it's really a fun use of everything the XW-P1 can do all at once. So you can build it yourself. Couple string patches and build a long phrase for a drone, and the lead is already available for download over at Casio Music Forums, so you can download it yourself. So lots of amazing stuff. This is my old Daft Punk demo. We're getting some funky stuff here with the iPad connected, so I'm going to disconnect it for a moment. So, again, using phrases, some pretty wild things you can do. Play a phrase, in this case just a bass line, and assign it to a range of keys. And again, I'm getting some MIDI stuff here. It's kind of funny. But, so XW never ceases to amaze, and anyway, these are just some of my demos from over the years. But so another little known trick is that all the sounds can run through the SoloSynth's filter. You can do some wild stuff with it. Anyway, tonight, just again, this is sort of proof of concept here, making sure that the live stream here on YouTube is working, and it is, and I appreciate everybody that participated tonight. We will be doing many more of these in the future. We'll get the tweets out, we'll schedule some events, but tonight was just another trial, another proof of concept here on this new software that we're using, and everything, according to you guys, is working well. So I really appreciate that, and look forward to the next time to see you guys online. So that's it for me tonight, guys. Really appreciate you stopping in and chatting, and we will see you guys on the next live stream. So see you soon. Thank you.